Hey guys, Vinny here. Today I'd like to talk about creative roadblocks. I'd like to share a roadblock that I'm currently going through, and I also like to discuss some reasons that I think we get creative roadblocks and what we can do about them. So as you know, I'm pretty new here on YouTube, and I got my first and only comment so far, so I thought that I would answer it here for everybody. This comment comes from my good friend Gina. Gina's a super talented designer I've had the pleasure of working with who has recently gone independent on her own. Gina's currently going through the process of building her own personal brand. You can take a look at her website here, I'll link it in the description. And what she brings up is something that I think that we all go through. First she asks, how do you think your personal brand will come out here on your YouTube channel? I don't know what that looks like yet, and I'm trying not to decide too much up front. But of course that's impossible because not making a decision is also a decision, right? So let's focus on the decisions that I've already had to make just to get started. And to do that, I'll give you a tiny little tour of what I've got set up here. I've really tried to be myself through this process. This space up here is my studio that I've been building up over the past 10 or so years. And it's just full of all of the things that I love and the things that I've needed to do the kind of work that I like to do. I also haven't changed the way that I dress. This is how you'd see me any day of the week, and I've tried not to alter the way that I talk, which has been kind of impossible. The lighting setup that I've got for myself is kind of minimal. The studio itself is lit pretty dimly. This is generally the way I keep it, just the vibe that I like. But there is some thinking to that. In an attempt to be authentic before having decided what all the branded stuff should look like, I have focused on trying to keep this a conversation. I'll show you what I mean. So the camera here, the main camera that I use, is right at eye level, which is the same way that we'd be if we were having a conversation. It's also a good conversational distance from me, and I'm sitting down, chilling out, just the way if we were hanging out together, having a beer. The beer serves two purposes. The first was just loosening me up to get on camera, and the second purpose is, again, just conversational. Let's have a beer together. Gina and I usually have coffee together. But yeah, so there's dual duty going on here. All of this around me, it keeps me comfortable. It makes me feel a little better so that I can loosen up and do these videos. And it also tries to get across the part of my personality that I am confident about, which is I'm generally a pretty chill guy. But all that leads me right into Gina's second question. Have you had any roadblocks recently? I find myself getting started and then something comes up and I take a break. I just want to get past the roadblocks. Well, Gina, I totally know what you mean, and I'd like to talk about a roadblock that I'm currently going through, and that is, you guessed it, I suck on camera. With everything I've tried to keep it natural and to keep it comfortable, I still am just not good at delivering my message concisely to the camera and clearly getting my point across and not rambling off on other things and getting totally off topic. What is that? I did some practice videos before I uploaded anything here, and at first I tried just unloading my thoughts kind of naturally to the camera and hoping that I could piece something together in the end. That didn't work. I also tried working from an outline the way that I usually do presentations. But just like in my presentations, they ended up being a little too long, a little too unfocused, trying to cram in a little bit too much information, just too much. It's going to take me some practice, and I'm sure that I'll get there in time, but for right now, I'm just accepting the fact that I suck on camera. It's harder than I expected, but I can't let that make me stop moving forward. So hopefully it'll help you if I talk a little bit about where my roadblock comes from and some of the things that I've been trying to do to get through it. Most of my roadblocks start with an urge to get everything right before putting anything out there. They stem from perfectionism, which is really the complete enemy of productivity. I used to think perfectionism was a good quality, that it showed some kind of refinement in your abilities or exceptional taste or a standard of excellence. But really, perfectionism is just fear. Fear of commitment, fear of judgment. It's the fear of being called out for being less than perfect. And perfection is absolutely, completely, 100% subjective. So how can we even measure something like that? It's relative to each of us and to our personal values. My tendency is to get everything right before putting it out. But I can count on one hand all the times that that's actually worked for me. But I can't even begin to count the projects that I didn't finish because I was too busy trying to get them ready, not busy enough trying to get them done, and eventually just got bored with them and moved on. I try to keep in mind that it can always evolve and change and get better over time, and certainly will. But what is it that gives us that drive for perfectionism in the first place? I feel like it comes from a need to please people, or just worrying too much what other people think. I used to want to create things that were universally loved, but it's a trap. It's a trap that leads us to always play safe and to follow trends and to ultimately get bored with our work and look for something else to do. But wouldn't we attract the kind of work that we'd rather do by doing the work that we like and that we care about and not worrying so much about what anybody else thinks? For me, perfectionism caused nothing but an endless cycle of procrastination and never finishing things and never being happy about my work. But recently I've shifted my opinion and now I focus on just trying to get things out the door. It's really important that we finish things. Seth Godin has a really great way of looking at this I'd like to share. In this article on 99U, which I will link below, he argues the reason that we don't ship or finish things and get them out into the world is that we have a lizard brain that values safety and avoids risk at any cost. But this will keep us too scared to be truly creative. And he comes to a conclusion that I think is a really great way of looking at this. If you can realize that safe is risky and that risky is safe, and you keep taking risks and putting out your work, you can push through that resistance. So with that mindset in place, rather than letting my roadblocks stop me from getting my work done, I try to push through them and accept the fact that what I'm putting out isn't going to be perfect. I know that I'll get better on camera with lots of practice, but I'm not going to get that practice if I don't start putting out videos consistently. Rather than keep trying to perfect these videos, I look for ways around it that focus on my strengths and allow me to keep moving forward. So in my case, the workaround was to script these videos heavily and to cut very often. This way I can make it through the video, I can get my ideas out there, get my points across, and over time, hopefully, I will get better at the whole thing. And this style was certainly not an original idea of mine. I was inspired by Zay Frank and Vlogbrothers and a whole slew of other creatives out there that use this same approach. I realized that I wasn't the only one with this problem and I didn't have to let it slow me down. Another thing that really helped me was focusing on structuring my work. I literally had to put myself on a daily routine where I had scheduled blocks of work with no distractions. As creatives, it's really hard to do that, to try to sit down and work whether you're inspired or not. But really, there's so much more to this than the creative. So if I'm not in the mood to record or inspired to write, I can edit videos that I've already worked on. I can clean up around the studio. I can organize my hard drive. I can install that new piece of software I've been meaning to use. I'm just not allowing myself to get distracted by things like social media or my email or the many rabbit holes on the internet. And I'm not allowed to let one roadblock stop me from making progress on something that I care about every single day, even if it's just a little bit of progress. I know Gina already knows this, but web developers have what we call an agile workflow. Every cycle, which is often a weekly cycle, they put something out. The product, the application, the website, whatever it isn't perfect, but it's complete. And then they add to it in the next cycle, and in the next cycle. So in every cycle, they have to decide whether to solve a problem for a feature or to just move forward without that feature altogether. They aggressively prioritize and they push out the roadblocks that hold them up for too long. They'll come back around to those problems, but they always keep things moving forward. They don't let it kill their momentum. We can try to work this way too. We can show up every day to work. We can play to our strengths or to our mood that day by choosing what exactly we work on. We can push through our roadblocks by accepting them, or at least just accepting that we can fix them iteratively over time. We can creatively work around them. We just can't let them stop us. Going forward, I'd really like to have more conversational talks like this, maybe some Q&A, something like that. So please don't hesitate to leave a comment if you've got any alternate perspectives on this stuff. If you've got any questions for me, just hit me up. I'll try to answer them. I'd really love to have a dialogue. And hey, this channel is really tiny. There's a pretty good chance I'm going to answer you. If you're interested in watching my progress as I build this channel, you can subscribe on the page. And until next time, peace.